This is the part that I care about. Rose stated, quote, our organization, that's just great, just to just mess it up on the first sentence. Mike Brown's the head coach. This took a month, Hector.
Mm-hmm.
We talked to Stephen Bondi today on the Post's YouTube channel. And Stephen Bondi basically...
I know it's elementary, but I'm telling you, it's impactful.
Mike Brown's got personality. We'll get to that too. But with this hiring, Stephen Bondi said something that I have been thinking about. I thought when you let somebody go, you have a plan.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, you let somebody go. Typically, you know more or less what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, is it going to be Johnny Bryan? Whatever. And come to find out, the plan was just try to get a coach from another team. Jason Kidd, Ime Udoka, etc. They even kicked tires on Dawn Staley, who I don't think is going to leave her amazing job at South Carolina, just running women's basketball.
I would have loved it. I would not have hated that move. I know a lot of Knicks fans probably feel different than me, but I would have welcomed that. You know me, Bryan.
Yeah. I also don't. I don't get the sense she cares to coach in the NBA like that. She doesn't need to. But regardless,
especially not New York.
But regardless, so they canvassed the league. They're told no. By the way, one of the other details, I think a lot of other teams were like gleefully putting it out there, trying to embarrass the Knicks. Maybe James Dolan in particular. Like, oh yeah, they asked us to talk to our coach, and we said no. Mother, you know what I'm saying? Like they came out with that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we get to Mike Brown today.
Mm-hmm.
If you told me Mike Brown was the guy back then, I would have been like, oh, okay, very good coach. I don't know if he's a better coach than Tom Thibodeau. The point is he needs to be a better coach for this roster than Tom Thibodeau was. Let me get your initial reaction on this. So Mike Brown gets hired and you're like, what?
I'm excited. When you look at Mike Brown, he comes from the San Antonio coaching tree, right, Bryan? And I think everybody likes coaches that come from San Antonio, but he also coached LeBron James. He brought LeBron James to the NBA Finals, right? So he did something that Tom Thibodeau never done in his career, and that was go to the NBA Finals. He was with the Golden State Warriors on the bench, and when he became the head coach of the Sacramento Kings, he took a franchise that was the laughingstock like the New York Knicks, and he turned them around and made them look like a actual contender in the Western Conference. So when you look at Mike Brown, I'm excited about the hiring. I know a lot of names got thrown out there with Jason Kidd and Ime Udoka, and all that was tied into, if the Knicks get Jason Kidd, maybe they could trade for Giannis, and if they get Udoka, maybe they could trade for Kevin Durant. And in 2025, we understand that the days of the super team, Bryan, and this is a part of my article I'm writing for Latino Sports, the days of the super teams coming together. The days of the super team coming together to try to win a championship, I think those days are behind us. And having a coach that can utilize his starting rotation with the bench the way that Mike Brown can, I think can set up the Knicks for the future. And you see the Knicks right now this offseason, they added 2 more offensive pieces to a bench that would desperately needed some offense. And I like the hiring of Mike Brown, Bryan. Sorry for the word salad.
I will get to the offseason pieces in a second. We did talk about Clarkson extensively on Monday. Excuse me. I ate a burrito not that long ago, so I'm like still post digestion. You know what I'm saying? A little mushroom, avocado. I black beans, rice.
Eating healthy, bro.
Yeah. Nostalgic Nick was good. He was up in the chat yesterday. I think Nostalgic Nick wasn't a fan of the Mike Brown hiring, but yeah, like I think so. To me, we'll see. Like we'll see. I ultimately am of the mindset that Mike Brown is a good coach. I think he can handle the situation better than most other candidates would have. That's not to say this is going to go well. It depends. I still have questions about even the roster. As much talent as the Knicks have, I have questions about, okay, there were times where it wasn't looking like the offense was really gelling. Was that a Tibbs problem, or is that a stylistic problem? Or is that just year one of a nucleus that now includes Karl-Anthony Towns, that now includes Mikal Bridges, what it didn't prior? Like, there's a lot of things that we're just not going to know. But ultimately, this is what we do know. We know that. Can you actually pull up the press release when they fired Tom Thibodeau? This is a point that I continue to make because it's very important in terms of setting your expectations.
Copy. Keep talking. I'll look it up while you do that.
Because the first line said something to the effect of, this is a championship roster. If it's not verbatim, it's got to be close. But they said something to that effect, to which I'm like, oh, so that means this season upcoming, it's championship or bust time. You're telling us that. And I wouldn't have felt comfortable putting Johnny Bryan here if I'm the Knicks or, somebody else who doesn't have a ton of coaching experience. So I think Mike Brown makes sense in that regard. But it's a lot of pressure. And I think a lot of Knicks fans will experience this season like with some stress, like more than usual, because now it might not feel as fun. Because like last year, the year before in 23-24, that team was fun. They were gritty, whatever. Last year was a little more tense because there were more expectations. And now it's like all the expectations. So I'm be curious to see how they sort of navigate this. Do you have
I'm looking for it right now. You talking about Leon Rose, what he said?
Yes, it was the Leon Rose thing, what he said. It was fascinating. But yeah, I am seeing a lot of Knicks fans torn on this. Some Knicks fans like this. I see a lot of other Knicks fans like, where was Mike Malone, or they wanted a sexier name. Mike Brown's a good coach, though. Like, he coached the Sacramento Kings well. He took a team to the playoffs that hadn't been there in over 15 years, one of the worst organizations in the NBA. And on top of that, as you mentioned, the Cavs run. I mean, they went to the finals and lost. They got swept, and that team honestly shouldn't have been to the finals. But LeBron was superhuman that year, and the Eastern Conference was weak. But it is what it is.
So I have an article. This is the article that I referenced that has the quote from Leon Rose. Give me 2 seconds. I'll bring it up right now. This is from NBAanalysis.com. And
this is it.
There you go.
Yeah. New York Knicks president Leon Rose issued statement, blah, 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 blah. This is the part that I care about. Rose stated, quote, our organization, that's just great, just to mess it up on the first sentence. Professional broadcaster. Rose stated, our organization is singularly focused on winning a championship for our fans. That's the first sentence.
Yeah.
That tells you a lot of what they think of this team. And this pursuit led us to the difficult decision to inform Tom Thibodeau that we've decided to move in another direction. And then it's just the word salad about Tom Thibodeau. I'm giving y'all a word salad right now. Hector, like, what do you like? Where are you at on this piece of it? Like, do you care about the expectations, I guess?
Well, of course, the expectations are there, right? I think the expectations, the fan base knew about it when Leon Rose first took the job and he had his first press conference, right? And that's the first thing that he talked about was bringing the Knicks back to their winning ways from the 70s and winning a championship. So the fan base, we know the ultimate goal is getting to a championship. Now, when the Tom Thibodeau firing happened, you and I, we didn't get a chance to have a conversation on it, but I was talking with Al and Gallo and Pete when it happened, and we understood that as the fan base, the first thing that I thought, Bryan, was James Dolan is being reactionary, right? Mm-hmm. So to see Leon Rose get ahead of it and say, no, we collectively made this decision as an organization. One, I want to believe Leon Rose and not say that he's trying to be a defense for James Dolan, so he doesn't take all the bullets from this, right? But I like to believe Leon Rose, right? And if his decision after getting to the Eastern Conference was to fire Tom Thibodeau, you heard me the last time we had the conversation was when they put out the report or when the video came out talking about Tyrese Halliburton efficiency in the postseason, not scoring or shooting less than 30% from the left-hand side of the court. I said it, Bryan. If Tom Thibodeau knew that and he didn't cater his defense or create defensive schemes around that stat, knowing that Tyrese Halliburton cannot score from the left-hand side of the court, then bye-bye. I don't feel sorry for you, right? Leon Rose made the decision that was right for the organization, and hopefully Mike Brown can clean up what Tom Thibodeau messed up, or not messed up, or what Tom Thibodeau couldn't piece together.
I think The Dolan piece you bring up is real interesting.
Mm.
It's the one I want to know more about.
Same.
Like, because I think a lot of fans, and I believe some reporters are wondering, what's his involvement? Because the belief is he just sat back and let Leon do his thing last few years, and now it's like, wait, this could actually happen. Let me get back in. You know what I mean? Like, is he sort of meddling again? So to speak.
Bro, I told you, bro. After the Knicks got eliminated, he jumped on a Twitter space, bro. He heard my man stated the New York Knicks podcast go off, and he was like, "All right, I gotta fire Thibodeau."
I think people are worried about the potential involvement. But I don't know. Whatever. I think though with Mike Brown, Jonathan asked if you're happy with it. You care to answer that?
I'm happy. I'm happy with it. If you were to tell me immediately, right after they fired Tom Thibodeau, that it was going to be Mike Brown, I'm cool with it, because the idea of bringing in Jason Kidd to lure Giannis, yeah, that's sexy. That's what the old Knicks used to try to do. That's what the Isaiah Thomas Knicks used to try to do back in the day. Hire a head coach with the thoughts of trying to land a superstar. That never worked out for us. And if the Knicks were to hypothetically bring in Ime Udoka and trade to get Kevin Durant, you're gutting the core. We don't have any first-round picks. So I think the smart decision was bringing a guy like Mike Brown, who has a solid defense, and on top of it can utilize the entire bench with the pieces that you brought in. I think that's the smart way to go, instead of trying to hit the home run with bringing in a head coach and trading for a superstar.
This is the infamous Kings team that many probably will be referring to in terms of what Mike Brown's current potential maybe is as a coach. By the way, he was fired by the Kings last year, but I would blame the Kings before I would blame him. It was surprising at the time. The Kings are very, very dysfunctional. They're kind of like the old Knicks, but arguably worse.
Bro, they didn't draft Luka because the owner had beef with Luka's pops.
They were celebrating Nick Stauskas. You know what I mean? Like these are the Sacramento Kings.
Fun fact: when Nick Stauskas got drafted, I used to work at Blockheads, and I was at a bar in the city with him. His family, after he got drafted. After the draft, they came to one of the bars and we was hanging out. His pops brought me drinks.
I briefly covered Nick Stauskas when he was with the Nets, and they made that trade for him and Jahlil Okafor. Okay, so this is the team. Actually, the stuff that I want to show is at the top. Right here, first in scoring, but also first in offense, just in totality that year. They were a very fun team. Mike Brown has a reputation as a defensive coach, but he did show the ability to adapt to what was on the roster here in Sacramento, which is very informative. Their defense was also terrible. I think that's more of a personnel thing. They were 8th in net rating, which the Kings hadn't been forever, probably 20 years. And they played fast. They were 12th in pace. The Knicks do not play fast under Tom Thibodeau. We'll see if they actually speed it up a little bit. They don't have a ton of guys who, I mean, like Jalen Brunson doesn't deliberately, there you go, English again, play fast. But, you know, like, we'll see. We'll see what happens. And then over here, just like in terms of what you saw, like who was on the team, this was obviously De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis. They were both top 11 in MVP, not comeback player of the year. Is this comeback player of the year? This can't be comeback player of the year. Whatever. Clutch player of the year. That's what that has to be. That's because CPOY. I'm like, what did De'Aaron Fox come back from? Both of them all NBA, both of them all stars. You also had Keegan Murray, who's real young at the time. Obviously, Harrison Barnes, Kevin Huerter, like solid team. Davion Mitchell coming off the bench, who wasn't really maximized in Sacramento. And this is a team that started the season with one of the worst NBA forwards of the last few years, KZ Okpala, starting at the 4. And after 3 games, they were like, yeah, enough of that. And then after a few more weeks, they were like, yeah, enough of that, because he's not an NBA player. But yeah, this was a good Kings team that he elevated, I thought. I didn't see 48 wins before the season. I'll tell you that.
I don't think nobody saw 48 wins from the Sacramento Kings before the season started for this team. So when you talk about Mike Brown, he brings experience, he brings championship pedigree, he brings a coach that's been to the NBA Finals, both as a head coach and an assistant coach. So I'm all for the Mike Brown signing. I know a lot of Knicks fans for some reason weren't excited. Obviously, it's Knicks fans. Not everyone is going to be excited or be on board with whatever we do. But I felt that there would be more fans that will be welcoming the Mike Brown signing instead of seeing a lot of, well, he has 1 year to prove it. If not, he's gone. I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Any other Mike Brown thoughts in the chat before we move on to other matters on the show? Because I do want to hit the Milwaukee Bucks and get into that entire ordeal. One more thing I'll say about Mike Brown is I think a lot of people are going to try to be definitive on this in shows like tomorrow and clips and whatever. I just don't think you can be. I think it's you're going to play the results type of thing. If he leads the Knicks to a championship, then obviously he's cemented forever. He might get a statue off of one season. You know what I mean? Even if they never make the playoffs again, I don't know. He'll be honored in some way. He'll be a legend in that regard. If they lose in like the second round of the playoffs, then I asked Bondi this, like, is he entering the season on the hot seat? It sounds crazy, but this is they feel like they have a championship roster. So if you fall short of that, and if it's championship or bust, like what does not winning a championship look like? I didn't want to say what does bust look like because that's crazy. That's absolutely insane.
I was just going to add on real quick. I saw on Twitter one of the questions that you, Dex, and Stephen Bondi was going over were, is Tom Thibodeau or is Mike Brown a better coach than Tom Thibodeau? I'm not going to answer that, right? But when you look at Mike Brown and when you look at his track record, Mike Brown won NBA Coach of the Year twice, once in 2009 and again in 2023. He has a proven track record in 11
seasons.
They
got fired the next year after the second time he won.
Yeah, I know. You could throw the salt. Yeah, but they also traded De'Aaron Fox. But again, it's the Sacramento Kings. But
actually, after the first time he won it too, that was his last season in Cleveland. The next season was his last season in Cleveland. Then he took that year and then took the Lakers job, and that went terribly. But not all his fault because that Lakers were dysfunctional then too at that point. Anyway.
Of course, that's when they traded for Steve Nash and Dwight Howard. But in the 11 seasons in the NBA, he has a record of 454 to 304. He took the Cavs in 2007 to the NBA Finals with Boobie Gibson as one of the point guards on that team. When you look at his type of coaching in Sacramento, it featured, like you said, a fast-paced offense, ball movement, and a lot of motion when it comes to screening and using the big man and the point guard, specifically in attack, pick and roll combinations with De'Aaron Fox in Sacramento. When you look at the Knicks, you got Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. Hopefully that's something that Mike Brown can open up the way that he did with De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis.